Hey everyone, I'm Natasha, and welcome back to Wives Revealed, where we dive deep into the stories that never made it to air. The hidden truths, the lost letters, the people erased from the frame. What you're about to hear today doesn't just shift the sister-wives story, it detonates it. It began not with a court document or a headline, but with a photograph. A simple, sun-faded picture discovered in the bottom of a cardboard box. In it, a younger Kody Brown stands in a quiet backyard, the late afternoon light cutting across his face. His hair is longer, his shirt untucked, and in his arms rests a baby swaddled in a soft white blanket. The image seems innocent, unremarkable even, until one looks closer. Because the woman who took that picture, the one who isn't standing beside him, isn't one of the four wives America came to know. Her name was Rachel Mendes, and for nearly 2 decades, she was a name the Brown family never wanted spoken aloud. Rachel was not part of the show, not part of the family tree, not even part of the whispers that occasionally floated across online fan pages. She existed instead in the quiet margins, a ghost hidden between timelines, blurred by editing, lost in the space between what was real and what was scripted. For years, viewers debated her existence, some calling her a rumor, others insisting she was merely a misinterpreted guest from a family gathering or an early church retreat. But those who knew the Browns before fame knew there was more to the story, because Rachel wasn't just a visitor. She had once been considered for spiritual courtship. Long before the cameras, long before the contracts and confessionals, there was a time when Meri Brown and Kody were the foundation of what would later become the most famous plural family in America. And during those early years, when the couple still believed their purpose was to build something holy and everlasting, Meri introduced Kody to a friend from her early church circle, a soft-spoken woman named Rachel Mendes. Rachel was different from the others who came and went through the community. She was steady, humble, and carried a quiet faith that drew people in without words. She and Kody bonded easily, first over scripture, then over shared dreams of family, purpose, and legacy. But something changed when Rachel became pregnant. The timing, the details, the silence that followed. None of it fit within the polished public image that Kody and his growing family were trying to craft. The family's timeline, the one fans could recite from memory, had no space for this chapter. Rachel vanished as quickly as she'd appeared, her name quietly scrubbed from community directories and old correspondence. Life moved on. The Browns became household names. The show aired. The world watched, never knowing that a single untold story from decades earlier still lingered beneath the surface. Years later, the truth didn't return through rumor or confession. It walked straight into a courtroom. The day began like any other in Flagstaff's county courthouse. The air inside was stiff and dry, echoing with the faint buzz of overhead lights. The Brown family had gathered again, but this time the cameras were not invited. Christine, Janelle, Robin, and Meri each sat in silence, waiting for the hearing to begin. Across the aisle, Kody sat beside his attorney, avoiding everyone's gaze. What started as a procedural matter, a financial audit related to family trusts, was about to erupt into something far greater. When the first witness was called, it was Janelle Brown. Her tone was calm, but her body language betrayed the weight of what she was about to say. "She came over once," she began softly, her eyes unfocused as if looking back through time. "I remember that day. I didn't think much of it then." The courtroom remained silent, the judge watching closely. Christine followed, her words cutting through the stillness like glass. "She appeared when Landon was a toddler," she said. "I opened the door. He looked exactly like Kody." The room froze. Even the court reporter paused, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. The judge turned to Kody. "Mr. Brown," he asked carefully, "were you seeing Miss Mendes at the time of conception?" Kody's jaw tightened, the veins in his temple rising. "It wasn't a relationship," he said finally. "It was fleeting." Before the silence could settle, a voice interrupted, firm, controlled, and shaking only slightly. "You went to see her for 3 years," said Landon Brown, now a grown man. The murmurs in the gallery rose immediately. He continued, "You paid her in cash, in envelopes. You called her your spiritual wife. I have the voicemails." Kody's face went pale. His attorney leaned over, whispering urgently, but the damage was done. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Voicemails?" he repeated. Landon nodded. "My mother kept everything in case she ever needed to protect herself." And that was when a voice from the audience said, "I did." Every head turned. It was Meri. Meri Brown stood slowly, her hands trembling as she steadied herself on the bench. Her voice was rough but clear. "I filed the motion for the DNA test," she said. "I paid for it. I made the request under a sealed identity." Kody turned toward her. Disbelief splashed across his face. "Meri, what are you talking about?" But Meri wasn't speaking to him. She faced the judge instead. "3 months ago, I discovered an old folder in a box from our 2004 move," she explained. Inside was a birth announcement, a photograph, a lock of hair, and a letter written by Rachel Mendes. The courtroom was silent. Even the sound of breathing seemed to stop. Meri swallowed hard before continuing. She said she didn't want to disrupt our lives. She said Kody deserved to know the truth. Christine leaned toward Janelle, whispering, "She kept it all these years." Janelle's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. Meri continued, "I didn't do this for revenge. I didn't want to humiliate anyone. But after everything, after how he treated Garrison, how he ignored my calls, how he erased me from our family history, I needed to know if this lie went deeper than I thought." The judge tilted his head, his tone softening. "Why now?" he asked. Meri's voice broke slightly. "Because I needed to know if the man I loved ever truly existed, or if we all fell in love with the version he wanted the world to see." Kody slammed his hand on the table. "You're crazy, Meri. This is just another one of your emotional games." Meri turned to him for the first time. "You left me for her," she said, glancing briefly toward Robin. "For a woman you swore would never replace us. And now I find out you had another child while I was begging you to fight for our marriage." The courtroom cracked open in murmurs again. Gasps, whispers, disbelief. Robin sat frozen, her eyes burning holes into the wooden table in front of her. The judge raised his gavel. "Order!" But order was gone. Because now the story had a name, a face, and a voice, and the world would never see the Brown family the same way again. The evidence Meri submitted was devastating. Inside the manila envelope were 3 handwritten letters and a photograph. The judge read aloud portions of the first. Rachel's words, written in a trembling hand, spilled grief and desperation. "Kody says I will never be viewed as a real wife, not the way the cameras require. He says the others would leave if they saw me pregnant. But I already am. I told him I'd raise the baby quietly, without shame. He swore he'd stand behind us, just not publicly." The words hung heavy in the air. Christine closed her eyes, whispering under her breath, "He made us feel like we were broken, while he was the one breaking everything." The judge unfolded another page, this one addressed to my son in case you ever read this. His voice softened as he read the first line. And though no one could see it, a single tear rolled down Meri's cheek. By the time he finished, the courtroom was silent again, except for the scratching of the clerk's pen as she recorded the exhibits into official record. But the silence didn't last long, because when Janelle Brown stood again, she wasn't empty-handed. In her grasp was a thin red folder, the kind reserved for financial records. She walked forward slowly, her face pale, her voice steady. "Your Honor," she said, "I found this while organizing old tax binders. At first, I didn't know what it meant. But when I saw Rachel's name, I understood." The judge gestured for her to hand it over. He flipped it open. Inside was a TLC royalty payment spreadsheet from Season 6, complete with names, LLCs, and payment routes. But one name didn't belong. "Rachel Mendes," Christine gasped. "We never received direct payments," she said sharply. "All income went through Kody or the family trust." The judge frowned. "And this woman, Rachel, received direct deposits from the production company?" Janelle nodded. "Yes, through something called the Brown Family Development Fund, established in 2012. Kody shifted uncomfortably. "That was a clerical mistake," he muttered. But the next page destroyed that claim. It was an email, dated 2013, from Kody himself. The subject line read, "Quiet merge," and the body of the message, "Keep Rachel's name out of any future files. Reassign the consulting designation under Brand Support LLC." Robin's eyes widened. "That's out of context," she said sharply, but the judge didn't look up. "Mrs. Brown," he replied, "your name doesn't appear on any of these communications. Which context are we missing?" Robin looked away. And then the final blow came. The judge lifted one last document from the red folder, a trust record dated 2021. And from the red folder, a trust record dated 2021. As he read the names aloud, each wife leaned forward. "Savannah Brown, Gwendolyn Brown, Aurora Brown," he paused, frowning, "and Landon Mendes Brown." For a long, unbearable moment, no one moved. Then Christine whispered, "He added him." He added Rachel's son to the trust. Janelle's hand trembled. Meri stared straight ahead, as though she'd known all along. Robin's lip quivered. Kody sat motionless, his face drained of color, his hands gripping the table until his knuckles turned white. The judge cleared his throat, placing the paper aside. This court will recess for 15 minutes. But no one in that courtroom would ever truly leave that moment behind. Because in that instant, the man they'd followed, loved, defended, and married had been stripped bare by the truth. The courtroom had gone still, so still that the soft hum of the overhead lights became almost deafening. Christine leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, her chest tight. That can't be right, she thought. Across from her, Robin's face drained of all color. She twisted a tissue around her fingers again and again, her lips trembling. That number, he was never part of our family, she whispered, voice breaking. He never lived with us. Judge Halverson flipped through the file before him, his brows rising higher with every page. 3 notarized amendments, he said slowly, scanning the document. The latest, filed only 2 months ago. The rustle of paper sounded like thunder in the silent courtroom. And this amendment, he continued, his voice tightening, names Mr. Landon Mendes Brown as a qualified beneficiary, under a private subfund labeled Educational Expenses and Legacy Growth. Janelle's head turned sharply toward Kody. She didn't speak at first. When she finally did, her tone wasn't angry. It was hollow, stripped of all emotion, like something inside her had quietly broken beyond repair. You made him a beneficiary, she said softly. You told us the trust couldn't even send Savannah to the college she dreamed of. You said the money was thin, that we were stretched too far. Christine's voice came out in a whisper, but it carried through the entire room. You lied to all of us. Kody rose suddenly, his chair scraping harshly against the floor. I didn't want to punish him, he burst out. He didn't ask to be born into this, he's still my son. Meri's voice cut through the air, low and sharp as a blade. So were the others, Kody. The words hung there, trembling, until the silence itself felt alive. Robin clutched at her chest, tears threatening again. Why didn't you tell me? She cried. Why wouldn't you? Kody's anger flared. Because you didn't want to hear it, he shouted. You wanted the fantasy, the perfect image for TLC, the spotless story that would keep the checks coming. Enough. Judge Halverson's voice snapped across the courtroom like a whip. This hearing concerns the alleged misappropriation of trust funds, not your emotional collapse. He turned his gaze to Landon, who stood near the witness box. Mr. Mendes Brown, did you know you were named as a beneficiary? Landon shook his head slowly. No, sir. Not until last week. My mom got a call from a financial advisor, said they needed to verify our mailing information. We thought it was some clerical error until the documents arrived. Christine's voice cut through the quiet again, sharper this time. You sent that boy more than you sent your own children, she said. And now you want sympathy? Kody sat back down hard. His hands were trembling, his face pale and strained, the mask slipping. What he didn't yet realize, what none of them did, was that someone else had recently been removed from that same trust. And that person was walking toward the courtroom at that very moment. The doors creaked open. Heads turned. The woman in the second row gasped and grabbed Christine's arm. Christine spun around, eyes widening in disbelief. Walking slowly down the aisle was a figure she recognized instantly. It wasn't a stranger, it was blood. Ciara Brown, Peyton's twin. The child who hadn't appeared in court for years. The daughter who had been erased quietly, without a word. Janelle's breath caught in her throat. Ciara, she whispered. You came. Ciara nodded once. She looked poised, hair pulled neatly back, a dark green blouse under a tailored blazer, calm as ice, but with eyes that burned. Judge Halverson adjusted his microphone. Miss Brown, you are not listed as a scheduled witness. I wasn't invited, Ciara said evenly, stepping forward. But I received a notice 3 weeks ago that my name had been removed from the family trust. No warning, no explanation. Just gone. She turned to Kody, her stare unflinching. You cut me out. Kody's mouth opened, but no sound came. Your Honor, Janelle interjected quietly. I didn't even know. She never mentioned. I didn't want to embarrass my mother, Ciara said, still calm. But I see Landon's name in that trust now. She paused. The silence felt like it could break glass. He's not the issue. It's what he represents. The lies, the favoritism, the way some of us were good enough for the cameras but not good enough for the legacy. Robin's voice quivered. You were taken out for protection. The structure of the trust was, don't. Sierra's voice broke into a shout before she could stop herself. You had your own jewelry line under your name before I even opened my first bank account. The gallery came alive. Gasps, whispers, the shuffling of reporters' feet. Christine leaned forward, frozen. Meri bit her lip hard, her eyes glistening. Sierra faced the judge again. I have the paperwork from the attorney who drafted my removal. He told me directly. It was under Kody's orders because I refused to appear in the family reunion special. The judge frowned. You were cut out of a legal trust for declining a television appearance? I have the emails, Sierra said firmly. Another folder made its way down the aisle. Christine whispered, this isn't just about DNA anymore. This is about control. The judge scanned the documents. A line caught his eye. He read it aloud, voice tightening. Any member declining brand involvement may be exempted from future monetary allocation. Then the email signature, Kody Brown, CC, Robin Brown, subject, legacy management. The crowd stirred like a storm breaking loose. It wasn't a hearing anymore. It was the public unmasking of an empire built on favoritism, fear, and silence. Before the uproar could settle, the bailiff stepped forward. Your Honor, he said, holding a sealed gold-foiled envelope. A courier from outside the state legal department, marked confidential from TLC Network Counsel. The murmurs turned into a low rumble. Christine's eyes widened. They responded, she breathed. Judge Halverson sliced the seal open and began reading. Line by line, his expression shifted from curiosity to steely disbelief. These are statements from TLC's legal counsel, he announced, concerning the structure of the Brown Family Holdings Trust and related financial activities. He raised the page. TLC has never authorized the diversion of production stipends, bonuses, or housing allowances into private family trusts without written consent or contract modification. Any such diversion was unknown to the network. Christine's mouth fell open. They did it behind TLC's back, she whispered. The judge continued. Additionally, the network does not recognize Rachel Mendes, Landon Mendes Brown, or Brand Support LLC as authorized participants or advisors. Robin collapsed slightly into her chair. Janelle's voice trembled with fury. You used the show's money, the show we built, and told us there wasn't enough to feed our kids? The judge wasn't done. TLC has now petitioned a temporary freeze on all royalty payments to Kody Brown, Robin Brown, and any affiliated entities pending a full financial audit. Kody's face went chalk white. He stared at the table like he was hoping it would swallow him. And furthermore, the judge added, TLC is initiating a forensic review of all season 15-18 transactions. Any breach of contract will result in the forfeiture of remaining funds and the revocation of licensing rights. Reporters in the back grabbed their phones. Cameras flashed. The story was breaking before the hearing was even over. Christine sat back slowly, her voice calm but cutting. They're going to shut you off, she said. Everything you traded your soul for, it's gone. Kody's voice was barely a whisper. You don't understand how hard it was. Janelle cut him off, her tone cold and steady. We understand perfectly, Kody. We lived it. Judge Halverson raised the final page. Given these developments, he said, the network has requested complete financial transparency from all parties connected to the Brown Family Trust, including any shell corporations. Robin winced as if struck. Kody dropped his head into his hands. Christine crossed her arms tightly, expression unreadable. The fortress Kody had built, of secrets, power, and manipulation, was crumbling in real time. But the hearing wasn't over. The judge looked toward the back of the courtroom, his voice calm but resonant. Miss Layla Green, he said, please approach the stand. A hush swept the room. Then the rear door opened and a woman entered, poised, mid-40s, professional. She carried a black leather satchel and a heavy file case, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Christine stiffened. Even Robin stopped breathing. Kody turned slowly to face her. And for the first time that day, his confidence truly vanished. Face her. And for the first time that day, his confidence truly vanished. The air in the courtroom was already heavy when the door opened again. Janelle blinked in disbelief, and even Kody, usually unshakable, visibly winced. Because everyone in that room knew who had just walked in. Layla Green. Once the quiet power behind the scenes, Layla had been the ex-back-end payment coordinator for Brown Entertainment Holdings, the woman who, for years, knew exactly where every dollar went and where every lie began. She walked down the aisle with calm precision, her heels echoing like soft strikes of a gavel. Her expression was neutral, her movements measured, her reputation unmistakable. When she reached the witness stand, she swore in, adjusted the microphone, and folded her hands neatly on the table. Judge Halverson leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing. "Miss Green," he began, "were you working in a financial coordination capacity for the production of Sister Wives?" "Yes, Your Honor," Layla replied, her tone crisp. "From 2014 until my departure, I was employed by TLC's contract department. My duties included routing production stipends, managing seasonal payouts, and distributing post-production bonuses." "And the documents you brought with you today?" the judge asked. Layla nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. These include routing directives identified in 2020 by TLC's internal audit, documents that were never fully examined because the Brown family requested private arbitration." Christine's jaw tightened. Her stomach dropped. She knew what was coming would hurt. In 2019, Layla continued, a new company was registered under the name Flagstaff Family Dynamics, Inc. The listed owners were Kody Brown and Robin Brown. It was described as a media consulting brand and presented as eligible to receive infrastructure reimbursements from TLC. Janelle shook her head, disbelief cutting through her composure. "We were never told about that company." "No one was," Layla confirmed. "But records show that funds from seasons 14 and 15, including location move bonuses, equipment rental reimbursements, and expansion stipends, were rerouted through that LLC. The total amount redirected exceeds $274,000. The judge frowned. "Was that permitted under TLC's production contract?" "No, Your Honor," Layla said without hesitation. "Those funds were intended for collective family property, specifically the expansion project at Coyote Pass." Christine whispered under her breath, her voice trembling with controlled rage. "And instead, they bought Robin's house." Layla gave a single quiet nod. Robin began shaking her head, slow and mechanical, as though trying to undo what had just been said. "We didn't know." Layla cut her off, her professionalism cracking into something colder. "There's an email from your own account, Robin." She paused, unfolding a printed message. Subject line, mansion timing. The message reads, "Transfer confirmed." Kody handled the remainder. The judge's face darkened. "Do you have that document?" Layla handed it over. Robin's voice broke. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Kody's throat clicked as he swallowed. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "You wanted security," he said, not looking at her. "I gave it to you, but you took it from everyone else." Christine's response was quiet, deadly. "And you used our names to do it." Judge Halverson straightened in his seat. "This court," he said sternly, "is upgrading the case to a full financial misconduct review. All parties connected to Flagstaff Family Dynamics, LLC, are ordered to produce bank statements, asset disclosures, and internal communications within 10 business days." Robin collapsed back into her chair. Kody closed his eyes. The spin was gone. The insider had spoken, and there was no escaping the truth anymore. But before the silence could settle, the bailiff hurried forward. "Your Honor," he announced, "there's another witness requesting to testify. Not on the list. Claims to have video evidence time-stamped 2021. The judge exhaled, rubbing his temples. "Bring them in." From the back row, a man in a charcoal gray blazer stood. Mid-30s, calm and confident, the kind of man who didn't deal in rumors. "My name is Brandon Weiss," he said as he approached. "Former contractor for TLC's Flagstaff field office." Christine's eyes widened. "I remember him," she whispered to Meri. "He used to check the equipment during shoots." Brandon opened a slim laptop. "I oversaw the installation and maintenance of internal security systems in the off-site storage facility leased under Brown Holdings. One of the cameras was motion-triggered. This USB contains a 42-second clip recorded automatically. The subjects had no idea they were being filmed. The courtroom tech plugged it in. The lights dimmed. On the projector screen, grainy black and white footage flickered to life. An office lined with file cabinets, a whiteboard behind two figures. Kody and Robin. The audio was faint but clear enough. "Kody, we'll push it through this quarter. Transfer the second bonus through Family Dynamics. Your name's already on the holding account. Robin, what if they find out?" Christine's asking questions about the money. "Kody, we'll say it's for production supplies. She won't track it down unless Meri starts digging again." Robin, "She won't. She still thinks she's coming back." The video cut to black. No one breathed. Then Christine rose, her voice steady, heartbroken. "That's where the money went," she said. While we were paying off debts, you two were building a mansion with TLC's funds. Meri didn't speak. She just buried her face in her hands. Janelle leaned back, staring straight ahead. It wasn't just betrayal, she whispered. It was planned. The judge's tone was glacial. This video is hereby admitted as evidence. Miss Green, you confirmed that Flagstaff Family Dynamics appears on at least 3 financial routing documents? Yes, Your Honor. He turned to Kody and Robin. You are now under formal investigation for contract fraud and financial misrepresentation. Any failure to cooperate will result in criminal referral. Kody stood up suddenly, pleading. I was trying to keep the family together. No, Christine interrupted, voice sharp as lightning. You were trying to escape the family and you used us to build your bridge out. A voice called from the gallery. I have one more file. Every head turned. It was Meri. She held in her hands a worn leather journal, its edges frayed, its spine cracked from time. The entire courtroom froze. Meri walked slowly toward the center. This, she began softly, was Rachel Mendez's journal. She left it in a box at a friend's house. It came to me after Landon's DNA results were confirmed. I didn't want to read it, but I have to. She opened to a faded page. The ink was smudged, but the words were hauntingly clear. December 15th, 2021, he came again today. He said it would be the last time. That the show was getting too hard to manage. That Robin was panicking. He told me Landon would be fine, that he'd take care of him quietly. And then he said something I'll never forget. You were a chapter that can't exist anymore. You were real, but you were wrong. Meri's hands trembled. Christine covered her mouth. Janelle's eyes glistened. Meri looked up at Kody, her voice breaking. You told us she was unstable. That she manipulated you. That she never loved you. But she loved you enough to protect your secret. And you loved yourself enough to bury her. Kody tried to speak, but the judge raised a hand. Meri turned another page, the last one, written in shaky handwriting. If Landon ever reads this, I want him to know I tried. I believed love was quiet. I thought loyalty meant erasing myself. But if you are reading this, I hope you never let anyone turn you into a shadow again. When Meri closed the journal, the silence was total. Even the reporters didn't type. The judge placed the notebook on the pile of evidence. These entries will be sealed and submitted for forensic documentation, he said gravely. Let the record show that silence is no longer protection. Then he looked to Kody. Mr. Brown, he said, before sentencing is discussed, do you wish to respond? Kody stood slowly. No lawyer, no script, no Robin's hand to hold. Just a man surrounded by the ruins of his own making. His voice came low, tired, cracked. I did it, he said. The gallery gasped. Meri winced. Christine didn't move. I approved the payments, Kody continued. I created the LLC. I knew about Landon's paternity. I helped Robin with the transfers. I did everything. He paused, trembling. I wanted control. Paused, trembling. I wanted control. I wanted to protect what I built. I thought if I could hold on to one version of the truth, the cameras would stay, the money would last, and everything else would fix itself. But it didn't. They got stronger. Christine, Janelle, Meri, they found their voices. And I lost mine. He looked up briefly, eyes red. I told myself I was defending the family, but I was defending myself. Against failure, against shame, against becoming the man I always swore I wasn't. Christine rose slowly. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her gaze alone was the verdict. Judge Halverson nodded grimly. This court acknowledges Mr. Brown's statement as an official admission of liability. A full audit will continue immediately. Property redistribution and penalties will follow. He struck his gavel once. Final judgment will be issued within 24 hours. Kody sank back into his chair, lifeless. Robin hid her face. The rest, Christine, Janelle, Meri, Sierra, and Landon, stood together, fractured but whole in truth. 24 hours later, the courtroom filled again, quieter this time. The storm had passed, leaving behind only wreckage. The judge entered. Christine and Janelle sat side by side, calm, resolute. Meri's face was still, but there was fire in her eyes. Sierra and Landon sat behind them, no longer outsiders, just part of whatever remained. Kody walked in alone, clutching a yellow legal pad he never opened. Robin arrived late, wearing sunglasses, sitting apart. Judge Halverson opened a binder. This court, he began, has reviewed all evidence, testimony, and video materials. The verdict is as follows. The room held its breath. Coyote Pass and all associated properties are to be equally divided among Christine Brown, Janelle Brown, and Meri Brown. The interests of Kody Brown and Robin Brown are hereby suspended pending investigation for financial misconduct. A sound escaped Christine, half sob, half exhale. Janelle gripped her hand. The Brown family trust is frozen for forensic audit, the judge continued. All unauthorized alterations, including the removal of Sierra Brown and the addition of Landon Mendes Brown, will undergo state examination. The entity Flagstaff Family Dynamics LLC is dissolved immediately. All assets seized for restitution. Meri shut her eyes. Christine finally breathed. The writings of Rachel Mendes, the judge said softly, will be preserved in court record as Brown Family versus Brown Holdings. All attached evidence is property of the state. And then the final blow. All royalty payments to Kody Brown and Robin Brown from TLC are suspended indefinitely. The network reserves the right to terminate all contracts and pursue civil damages. Kody lowered his head into his hands. No one reached for him. When court adjourned, there was no applause. No press celebration. Just quiet. Christine and Janelle walked out together into the daylight. Meri followed soon after, slipping away toward the parking lot. Kody emerged last, unguarded, unaccompanied, haunted. Robin vanished through a side exit. Outside, Landon and Sierra stood side by side. They didn't speak. They didn't have to. That evening, Christine shared a photo. 3 women standing shoulder to shoulder. No matching outfits. No studio lighting. Just peace. The caption read, "We didn't get everything, but we got back our names." It trended for 2 straight days. Fans flooded the internet with tags. Justice for Janelle. Rachel. Was real. Protect the kids. And somewhere between the noise and the silence, TLC released its final statement. The Brown family's contractual partnership with the network has officially ended. No further content will be produced. Sister Wives is concluded. And with that, the story closed. Not with applause, but with truth.